Ladies and gentlemen, my name's Stryftek, and I'm here to ask and answer one simple question. Is it worth your time? On trial today. Monster Hunter Wilds. Released in February 2025 and made by Capcom, the same developers behind all the other Monster Hunter games, Street Fighter, Resident Evil, Mega Man, and many more. Monster Hunter Wilds is a third-person action RPG where you hunt monsters. Who'd have guessed? Now, I have never played a Monster Hunter game, so this is a fresh perspective coming from someone who has no idea what's going on. So I've rolled credits and I've finished the campaign and have zero motivation to continue forward. I understand that people say this is where the real game starts and that this 15-hour campaign was just the giant tutorial, but I just wasn't having fun. So yeah, let's dive into it. You play as a monster hunter. In what seems like a routine survey, you find people in a land that was assumed to be uninhabitable, and upon meeting them, you go kill monsters for them. And yeah, that's literally it. There's nothing else here. Every story beat, big moment, and reveal could have been guessed by my 8-year-old daughter. Nothing in those 15 hours was memorable, unique, or even remotely interesting, which is a shame because it had so much potential. You've discovered people in a place that isn't supposed to have any, and they've been there for thousands of years. There was so much they could have done with that, but instead, it squanders all of it to send you off hunting monsters. That being said, people do play this game for the hunting, so the devs know their audience. I'll give them that. I've even seen requests from fans to be able to skip the entire campaign and go straight to the higher hunts. So they played into what the fan base wanted, but with how lackluster it is, they should have just skipped it entirely. So I played it for 15 hours, but the gameplay just never clicked. First, it throws a lot of you, and the vast majority of it is never explained unless you sit down and read the manual. It really feels like I was dropped into the third expansion of a game with an expectation that I already knew most of the mechanics. The bare minimum basics would be explained, but that's about it. Pouches, ammo, dart guns, ghillie suits, barbecuing, weapon sharpening, billions of materials, and more what I wouldn't have given for a tutorial. I found myself watching video after video on YouTube about tips and tricks and things Monster Hunter Wilds doesn't teach you, and there are hundreds of these videos. Why? Because the game doesn't teach you very well. But of course, the main attraction here is fighting the monsters, and it wasn't great. My biggest complaint was that your attacks don't go in the direction of your camera or even towards your lock-on target. You just keep swinging in the direction your character is currently facing. So you could be looking at the target and locked onto the target, but swinging in the absolute wrong direction. But Stryftek, they have a focus mode button that lets you aim your attacks. Well, yeah, that's for breaking wounds or precision striking a tail to cut it off. Like the name applies, it's to focus your attacks in one particular spot. Having to use it constantly or tap it to adjust where you're facing just to hit the monster is completely against the whole point of it. I did find that you could toggle focus mode on and off rather than hold a button, and while that did help, it's just dumb. It defeats the purpose of focus mode. So I gave up on melee and went to the bow, which is sad because some of the melee attacks look really cool. But I ended up really liking the bow. It had combos, movesets, good amount of mobility. You actually played in melee, give or take, so that you could get perfect dodges to get stamina back, and it just all felt really good. So once I got the bow down and all the combos, I was excited to go out and hunt some monsters. But I quickly found that every monster felt the same. Yes, they look different, they have different attack patterns, maybe different elements, but that's about it. You basically just zerg it, follow it when it runs away, and then finish it off. There's no real depth to it. Now, before you grab the pitchforks, let me tell you where I'm coming from. I just finished Eternal Strands, a game very much like Monster Hunter. Review on my channel, go check it out. In it, you fight giant unique monsters, you get their loot, craft the gear. It's the same general idea of Monster Hunter Wilds. Eternal Strands lets you disable a dragon's wing and now it can't fly, or break a giant's leg, forcing it to limp. Each of these fights had mechanics that would change the fight and get you better loot. It was great. So I figured in a game dedicated to fighting big monsters that it would take all of that to the next level. Like maybe if you disable the wing, now it can't fly, but it has extra combos or more attacks. Some new phase of some sort. But yeah, nothing like that happens in Monster Hunter Wilds. But Monster Hunter Wilds has multiplayer. Maybe you guys can team up and someone can pin down the tail and someone else can work on the side, and no, you just all zerg the monster at once and try to kill it. There is some cool tech where you're swinging your weapon and it happens to parry the monster right as it's attacking you, but it's all very minor compared to the depth other games give you. That all being said, I must have come into this with the wrong expectations, because if you look at OpenCritic, it's being praised as an incredible game. My friends who have hundreds of hours in the previous game are telling me that this is the best in the series and it feels so good to play. And yet here I am, just glad it's over with and I can go play something else. This game is supposed to look gorgeous, and it does seem to be running okay on the PlayStation. But on PC, it's a different story. Just look at the Steam reviews. All of these are complaining about the performance. It's pretty close to unplayable. And if you decide to bite the bullet and turn everything to low, it still runs poorly, and now it just looks terrible too. Digital Foundry did a great deep dive on this, and to poorly summarize their great video, it seems that there's an issue with how the textures are streamed to the GPU. So if you're running a high-end 50 series cards, you might be okay, but the rest of the cards seem to struggle. I have a 3090 and I set everything to low and I still couldn't get a smooth experience. The game had a soundtrack, I'm sure of it, I just can't remember any of it right now. Meanwhile, the voice acting is done by some incredibly talented actors, which you'll probably recognize. Patrick Seitz, who voiced Garrosh, Hellscream, and Arthas in World of Warcraft, along with Endeavor from My Hero Academia, and about 700 other roles. Casey Mongillo, who I recognize as Chilchuck from Delicious in Dungeon. Allison Packard, who played Neon Red in the Neon White game. There might be a review for that on my channel if you're interested. Kristen McGuire, and many others. This is just a star-studded cast of veteran voice actors, which is a shame because it is so awfully put together. Just sit here and listen to the snippet.
Certainly it'll be a lot greener and more lush than the desert. We should see lots of herbivores, and where there's herbivores, there's what eats them.
Pointing at you, Doshaguma.
If there are people living in a place like that, I wonder what their way of life is like.
Once we're there, I hope I can help you more with the expedition.
Why did they cut it together like this? Why is there these 3-second delays between each person speaking? None of it sounds natural, and it ruins the incredible job these voice actors did. So, is it worth your time? If you loved the other Monster Hunter games, you're probably playing it right now instead of watching my video. Since you are here watching my video, you're probably like me, never having played a Monster Hunter game before and wondering if this is the place to jump in. $70 for a nothing story, ruined voice performances, poorly explained mechanics, and mediocre monster chasing? No, this is not a good experience. But again, I seem to be in the minority. The previous game was a huge hit, and so far it looks like this will be too, assuming they fix the PC performance. But for whatever reason, it's just not for me. Had it offered a compelling story with good performance, I probably would have given it a maybe. But ultimately, no, it is not worth your time. My name's Stryftek, and thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you next time on Is It Worth Your Time?